partners, so they were all involved. But all is what we are looking for. And it needs to be fairly, what, everyone? Structured. For example, we often do partners and we just simply do like, oh, turn and talk, oh, turn and talk, oh, woo-woo, turn and talk. But could they be talking about something other than our content? Yes or no?
Yes.
So, what I've done with you already with partners is I have designated, first I asked the question, I gave you a chance to think, then I designated either one or twos were going to say the answer, and I even gave you a verbal sentence starter so that you would stay on task, but you would also use academic language. So that is structure. Another example in the research is choral responses. So if I do choral responses where we say it together and I have a signal, that's structure and has positive results in terms of student gains. If I just allow random shout outs, that actually has a negative aspect in terms of student gains, because what happens there is they just wait till Maya says an answer and they mimic her answer. We were actually saw this in one middle school study, because the children would actually when they just allowed random shout outs, they would look over at her as if to say, come on now, say an answer and we'll mimic it. And so they give all their cognitive power away to that higher performing student. And the last one, I think, is the one that I have to really work on because it is such a challenge, and that is giving enough thinking time. Here's what we normally do. Andrew! Now at that moment, did Andrew have any opportunity to think? Yes, none whatsoever. So he's expected to have instant, really wonderful answers, but he had no chance to think and got no feedback from his partner. So, but I need to give some thinking time to the students. And the best study on this did this. They put down recording devices in classrooms and recorded thousands of hours of classroom instruction. And they listened to when the teacher asked a question, and then if they called on someone, they measured the amount of time between when they asked the question and when they called on a student. And then they looked at the quality of the answer. And here is what they found. That if the thinking time extended beyond 3 seconds, great benefits occurred. And the benefits were great. That there was more participation, their answers were longer, they included more, what everyone? More evidence. Oh, that's so common, Corey. And they had answers that were more logical, and there were more follow-up questions. Now you think, well, 3 seconds, I'm just getting ready to go this, 3 seconds isn't long, but think about it, feel it. Is it possible we don't always give that amount of thinking time? Yes. And so this is one that we really have to work on with our teachers because the result is more participation, better answers, longer answers, more logical answers, more evidence within those answers. Thank you very much. And now, does eternity help? Like you just give forever. Actually, they found an upper limit, and that was about 10 seconds. Because if it goes really long, then you have management problems. Because basically, management problems occur when there's a void. When I was teaching new teachers 2 weeks ago, I told them 2 management rules. And one was, avoid the void, for they will fill it. True?
Yes.
And then the second was, basically, if you expect it, pre-correct it. So if you're thinking a management problem is going to occur, take care of it beforehand and pre-correct it. So, but particularly avoid the void, for they will fill it. And it's really universal. Last year I had the gift of working for the Diocese of Fresno, California, the Catholic Diocese. So I did demonstrations in all the Catholic schools. And what I found was they're just like your kids. Yeah. And when they have a void, they don't say, woo, where's my rosary? They engage in the same behavior. So, all right. Now, Another question might be, do you always give 3 seconds? No. And for example, let's say I'm a kindergarten teacher and I'm introducing letter sounds. Pretend there's an M here. And I say, this letter is M, its sound is mm. Sound, they forgot it. So in that case, it's not useful to have 3 seconds. Thank you. So these we need to keep in mind, and these are the kind of things that a principal, a coach would be looking for. Is everybody involved? Is it structured? And is there an adequate amount of thinking time? So we're going to look at some of the practices that do have a research validation that we could use. And one of them is that I could have you say answers together when the answers were short and exactly the, what, everyone? The same. And so when I have answers that are short and the same, I could have you say it together. This is all across the grades. So yes, if back in that kindergarten, I could say this letter is M, its sound is say it with me, everyone. What sound? And why should I have just you say it when we can all say it? But it goes through the grades. Maybe I'm a language arts teacher at the middle school, looking up here. Let's review some literary terms. If the author gives us hints about what's happening later in the passage, we call that thinking. And that would be what, everyone? Foreshadowing. Excellent. Or maybe I'm a math teacher and I say, think, is 23 a prime number? Okay, here's the problem. There's 3 people in the room who could get this one. So I think to myself, I don't say it out loud, okay, a prime number is a number that is divisible only by itself and 1. And so 23 and 1, yes, it's only divisible by those. It is a prime number. That's what I would be thinking. Don't say it out loud, it's too much. And so is 23 a prime number, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so the case is all of those are answers that are short and the same. The only problem is, inevitably, you have a designated blurter. Some kid who blurts out the answer before anybody else. True? So you have to be sort of like that band teacher. If they want beautiful music, let's say in 6th grade band, they would not just come in and say play, they would direct the students to get them to play together. True? And so, of course, beautiful music in 6th grade band, now there's an oxymoron, but they would have a way to direct the students. And so you need some kind of signal. Now the one I utilize is here. I will ask everyone a question. I'll put up my hand and give them what kind of time, everyone? Think time. You know, in the research, it's always called wait time. But you know, as teachers, we're like hoping for more. Like thinking. So thinking time is a better term. Give them thinking time, then say everyone, and then lower my hand. So let's do that together. First you'd ask a question, you raise your hands. Good job. And you give them what kind of time, everyone? Thinking time. Then you say everyone, and drop your hands. Now right back there, you had an outward flap that worked. So you went like that, boom. But behind you, 2 behind you was a double loupette. And it would not matter, but would it need to be consistent? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, the teacher could signal in any way. Maybe I was in one class where the teacher would simply go, everyone, everyone, and it worked. And this is just a reminder, a really important reminder. What I call function over form. Say it, everyone. Function over form. Raise your hand if you ever observe teachers and give feedback to them. Almost all of you do, whether you're a coach or you're a peer teacher or you're an administrator. But sometimes we give feedback wanting the teacher to do it our way. And nothing reduces the relationship between the observer and the observed than you insisting that they do it your way. If they do it and the function is perfect, then just say hallelujah and let it go. It is function over form. Function over form. So if I go into a class and the teacher goes like that, and everybody says it together, perfect. I don't have to say anything, except good job. So function over form. This is a really important one, coaches. Really important. Too often we wanted to do it exactly our way, but it's function over form. It's sort of like I had a party recently and I asked 3 people to bring cheesecake. And 2 of them made the cheesecake and it was delicious. Another one went to the best bakery in Portland, Oregon, got the most expensive cheesecake and pothead. And I had to say, great, function over form, and all 3 were delicious. And so they didn't, but it was just a reminder to me of that important criteria. Okay, now, I'm skipping a little bit because of, well, we have just the next one. We're down to the last bullet on slide 17. What to do if, okay.
Yay.
Thank you very much, big hand, yay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, and so we'll have your tutorial session later, so I can go over the things that you missed while you were doing administrative details, okay? So, the thing that often happens is that some students don't respond. And raise your hand if that could happen in your school site. So what to do? What we recommend is what we call a gentle redo. So, and it has to start on the first day of school so the kids know you really expect it. Not an angry redo, just a gentle redo. Like this. Ooh, but I need everyone. Oh, I still need everyone. Oh, double darnette, I need everyone. I still need everyone. Pretty soon, you're turning and looking at her and saying, say it. So you get a little peer pressure going. But that reminds us of how critical it is that we don't just tell children what we expect, but we act as if we expect it. Children are much more tuned into our behavior than our words. But if I say everybody has to say it, and then I let 3 kids not say it, well, they're saying, oh my God, that's so much easier. I'll join them 3. And then pretty soon you're just left with Maya saying it, oh, gifted one. And so it is critical our behaviors will represent that. Now, many of you are secondary and intermediate, elementary, even primary elementary, and many answers are not short and the same. And for that, probably the best bet is having the students say the answers to whom? Everyone there? Their partners. And I'm certain that you use partners. And I see partners, but again, a little bit of structure is necessary. For example, who should pick the partners, do you think, according to the studies that have been done, the teacher or the students? Which one? The teacher. Because like attracts like. The 2 students that have gone to summer school together for 7 years have been really bonded in after-school detention. They say, "Boo, I really relate to you, not a good partner." And the best partners, from a study that was done by Doug and Lynn Fuchs, was that the lowest kids should not be with the highest performing students. Because the highest performing students, one will try to dominate, will take it over, will get irritated, not always as supportive. That those low kids do best with a middle performing goody-goody. A person with academics that are moderate but good behavior too. In fact, what they did in the elementary school is that they took the students, and I know some of you use things like Dibbles or Ames Web, they took the fluency of the students and rated them from the highest fluency in that 3rd grade class to the lowest, and then they cut the list in half and lined them up. And the end result is the middle performing students are, or the lowest performing students are with middle performing students. Now, I gave you a number to add more structure, so I could say 1's tell your partner, 2's tell your partner. But you can call them whatever you want, because remember, it is what? What, everyone? Function over form. So I was in one class, which was in Wichita, Kansas, where the teacher called them North and South. And she wanted the students to be able to figure out North and South in Wichita, Kansas. Well, see, if you come to Portland, Oregon, it is not difficult to visually see directionality because there is the city and there is Mount Hood, a volcano. So when you look at it, you think woo towards the east. And then, of course, the other one is towards the ocean. And then you look up and you see Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier, and you say, oh, there's the north. But there's nothing in Wichita. Nothing. Nothing. There's corn and soy, and so it's flat. So she wanted them to be able to figure out north and south, which I could never figure out being there often. So she called them north and south. I was in a primary class who had elephants and rhinoceros. Okay, fine. It worked. And the partners do need to sit next to each other. I never thought I'd have to mention it, but one day I did this kind of training, and then the next day I went in, and a first grade teacher said, ones, tell your partner the answer. And all these children got up and walked over to their partner. Oh gosh, no. No. Because in the primary grades, movement is the hotbed for yuckic behavior. So she increased inappropriate behavior. So we fixed it that day. And if you need to, you could have a triad. Now, triads are actually often very useful to include and support and scaffold students that are at risk in the classroom. First name?
Lisa.
Lisa. And so let's just say that Lisa was in my language arts class in middle school, in Tier 1, General Ed, and she is a special ed student. And so she is in my class, and first name? Jim. And so I assigned her to Jim. But here is the problem, is that particularly in middle school, you want to be like in the in group, and this doesn't appear to be the in group. And so you often turn around and talk over here and talk here and ignore her. So I'm going to put her on a triad. And Jessie, boy, as soon as I add Jessie, I mean, we're talking popular. Okay? If you don't understand this, you're not a middle school teacher. This is so middle schooling, right? So you're number 1, you're 2, and you're also 2. So then when I say 1, say the answer, you share with them. When I say 2, say the answer, you talk it over, and then she reports it. When I say 1s, read to your partner, you read to them. When I say 2s, read to your partner, you're going to do it together. Thus, Jessie is going to scaffold Lisa's reading. So triads work extraordinarily well when set up in that way. And I've had people say to me, but Anita, aren't you putting a lot of sort of spotlight on Lisa? The thing is, the studies actually show that way back in kindergarten, children identified who had the most knowledge and the least knowledge in a classroom. It's not like a shocker here. But the support for her outweighs this. And I could have more than 1 triad in the classroom, and I could have like 3. Sometimes I have to put, a gifted obnoxious on a triad who wants to dominate everything. So I might have more than 1, so I can make it more equitable for you, Lisa. Now, I could teach you how to be a partner. You look at your partner, you lean towards your partner, and you whisper. We're going to put 2 videos up on your materials. One is me teaching elementary kids how to be a student, and number 2, teaching middle school kids how to be a student. So you might want to look at those to share with your teachers in terms of sharing with them. For example, both of them teach the kids how to look, lean, and whisper. Do you think you'd ever want to change the partnerships? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay? And so in the studies we've looked at, every 3 to 6 weeks, the partners have been altered. There's many ways to use partners. And let's just hit some of the highlights. Because obviously I am not going to be a pop singer. No, because thank you so much. So 3 different ways, and let's start out with the first one on slide number 21. And I want you to put like stars all around this one, because if this could be one practice that you could really get instigated in your school site. And that is, I could use partners when I'm calling. Instead of saying, Andrew, instead, it works, doesn't it, Andrew? Instead of calling on Andrew, I could ask a question. Maybe it's one of those text-dependent comprehension questions, and give everybody some thinking time. And then I could have them share with a partner. I might even give them a sentence starter to share with a partner. And then I could call on Andrew. Now, if I did that, if I asked the question, gave everybody thinking time, then designated one person to share with their partner, then called on someone, at that moment, would have Andrew had more thinking time? Yes or no, everyone?
Yes.
But he's also practiced his answer with his partner before I called on him. And not only that, he's gotten feedback from his partner. So are we more likely to get an accurate response from him, yes or no?
Yes.
And Andrew, would you stand up? So one of the things that I added to my repertoire a year ago was visiting a school district where when they had big questions directed at an individual, they had them stand and share the answer, and stand and deliver. And it was something that I'd never done in my 50 years of teaching, so I said, well, I'm going to have some data to convince me that this is a good idea. And so we went to classes. The reason they did it is it was a school district that had 60% of the children were Spanish speaking. And when they got to middle school and high school, they were very reluctant to give any kind of presentations, very reluctant. And they said, well, we've got to get our kids familiar to talk in front of people early on. So they started kindergarten through 12th grade, stand and deliver. So the first thing we did is we listened to their answers, and we found that the quality of their answers went up when they were sharing it with the whole group. Here's what was really good about it. The attention to the students by their peers significantly increased, because we were able to collect data on that. That when he stands up, we're like listening to him. We're like looking at him. So the rigor goes up in the classroom. So I want you to think about it as something that you might try this year. I'm now deeply committed to it because the quality of the answers went up. It said this is important, and the peers were much more attentive. Thank you so much here. Okay, so this is one that we could use. I don't care if it's kindergarten on a read aloud where we have some comprehension, or I am teaching at high school, and I say in biology, we have studied two types of cells, prokaryote and eukaryote cells. I want you to think of how they are first same, and then how they are different. First we're going to do same, and have them the chance to think. Now go and share your answer with your partner, then call on someone. So this strategy could be used elementary through high school. Okay, now another one is we can have partners teach information to their partner. This is one we are simply not doing often enough, as having them actually have been taught information, learn information, and then we have them tell it to their partner. Okay, and so we could do it using all of this, but let's use it looking up here. Let's use it based on that lesson that I taught this morning. Okay, eyes here. So we went through the two parts of the legislative branch, and we talked about the House of Representatives, and we also talked about the Senate. And I want you to think for a moment of ways that they are the same. Put your hand, your fist towards you, and as you're thinking, put up one finger for each idea. This is a practice that increases the probability they're thinking, but it's also visual to you that they are thinking, okay? So think of some ways that they are the same. House of Representatives and Senate. Okay, ones. Pretend that your partner was not here and teach them that information. Twos, add to it anything they've left out. Ones, teach your partner, and go. They are both part of the Okay, fall silence. So in the act of teaching it to someone else, might they also be learning it better yesterday? But also it gives you a chance to listen in and see if there's any misconceptions that need correction. Okay? Now there I just had to do it with your recall, but we could have take out a, what, everyone, a graphic organizer. So I just taught a 7th grade science lesson, which was on the different states of matter. And so we had the solid, the liquid, and the gas, and we had information about them. They took it out, and I said, ones, pretend your partner was not here, touch the parts of the graphic organizer, and teach them about solids. And we could use in math, a worked math problem. Now this actually has probably the most significant research here is a worked math problem. So that we have an example problem that's already done, we've done it, and now it is accurate, and we explain the algorithm using the worked problem. We could take out a map. So let's just pretend we have a map here, and I say, teach your partner the states that are along the Pacific Ocean. And twos, turn to your partner and tell your partner the states along the Pacific Ocean and go. Pretend you have a map. Okay, looking up here. And so, almost all of you said Washington, Oregon, California, but we need a little review on Alaska. And how about Hawaii? Okay, so you had weak maps, that was your problem. Okay? And you might have diagrams. I will often say to children, take out your notes that we took yesterday in our high school class, and you're going to tell your partner what we learned about the legislative agenda of Lyndon Baines Johnson. And we could have them have some drawing that they've done and explain it. Maybe they take out their vocabulary log. And I say you're going to go back and forth. Ones are going to teach the first word to your partner, teach them how to pronounce the word, what the meaning is, and give examples. Twos teach the next word. But this is one that we're really missing out on, because you know the power of teaching. That much of the things that you have taught, you have finally learned. True? All of us. That's the benefit of being a teacher. Do you think that I knew polynomials for life? No, I had to relearn polynomials and all of the attributes of it. In the act of teaching it, I knew it better. Well, we could also have the kids study with a partner. And this comes from a research project we did as a warm-up at the beginning of secondary classes. So we use this in my work in Wichita, middle schools and high schools. That the kids would come in and there would be something on the screen. It might say chapter 2, or it might say notes from yesterday, or graphic organizers. And the students were to take that out, and then they were to study it. And the teacher gave them 1 to 2 minutes to study. And then the teacher would say, close your book, or put away your papers, or put away your graphic organizer. Now, twos, you're going to tell your partner everything you remember about that topic. And then ones, you're going to help them out, and then you're going to look back and check your answer. So we use this as an every day, in every class, warm-up as the kids came into class. When it was a science or a social studies class, and it was a beautiful way to get a routine down that the kids knew. Well, there's other things that we could do. And would you check your partner to see if they're on 24? So we could have children monitor their partners. And this is, sometimes there's simple things that really solve a number of problems. And could you have, let's say, third graders that are on the wrong page in the book? Could that happen? And so you say, open up your book to page 52, you pause, and then you say, check your partner. And you end up with all the kids on the right page. Or maybe I'm a middle school teacher, and I say, please write a heading on your paper that has a name, a date, and a subject. And then I pause, and then I say, check your partner. And here's the thing. Children are very willing to tell their partner that they have not done it right. This is human nature. Think of all the people that give you advice they've never followed. It's just human nature. They could share materials. They could assist their partner during independent work. When their partner is absent, they could collect materials that were handed out so that the student would be prepared the next day. But one of the, number 5, is one that's been studied by Steve Graham, sort of the guru in the area of writing, looked at having partners give feedback on writing to their peers. Now, what he found, though, was only under certain circumstances does it work. And that is where you first demonstrate the feedback that's going to be given, and then you make it narrow, not broad, and then they do it for their partner. So one day I was in a class where the kids were 4th or 5th graders. We were writing descriptive paragraphs, and then I said, look up here, you're going to give feedback to your partner, but you're just going to give them feedback on descriptive words that you found, and also where you wish there was a descriptive word. So watch me do it. So we read a paragraph, and I said, okay, here's a descriptive word, here's another descriptive word, now you think of them and tell me, and then I underlined them, and I said, I really wish there had been a descriptive word here. So I added a vertical line and another vertical line. And then the students did the same with their partners. So if it was very specific feedback, it was narrow, it was modeled, it made a difference. In fact, it had the same positive impact as teacher feedback under those circumstances. Well, we might under verbal want to call on individuals. But the big idea here is, do we want to call constantly on volunteers? Yes or no, everyone? No. So I'm going to have put up a very good article for you to give all of your faculties, elementary and secondary, at the beginning of the year. It was an article written by Dylan William, and the heading on it, when you get it, will be No Hands. And it was about getting rid of the hand waving. And it's a significant thing to work on, because as long as teachers are having kids volunteer answers, then we're going to call on O Gifted One, the highest performing students. And the reason why it's so unequitable is you're going